Hi, folks. Chief Meteorologist Nick Lilia here, taking a look at your tropical update for July 20th of 2020. So 7/20/2020, a lot of 20s in there. Brought to you by the good folks over there at Pine Belt Gutters and Remodeling. Hey, they do roofs too. All right, so let's take a peek out at what's happening in the tropics. We got a couple of areas of interest out here. We've got the one which is just off of the coast of Louisiana and Texas. We've got a second one, which is a little bit closer to Cuba and the Bahamas, and a third one, which is kind of just off the screen here, and back off to the extreme east-southeast. First things first, we'll start over here. We've got actually two of these in here. We got the 1X here. This is the one, again, closer to the coast of Texas and Louisiana, with a 10% chance of development, and they're not overly concerned about this doing anything before it makes landfall, so to speak, as we head through the next 24 to 36 to kind of 48 hours. The one back here is now up to a 20 to 30% chance of development, as this cluster kind of meanders its way into the area which is kind of shaded in yellow here. So they don't anticipate anything truly over the next 24 hours. So between now and when I'm yakking at you guys for tomorrow, not really much is going to happen with this thing. It may get a little better organized, but for the most part, we've got to wait until this thing gets into the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to be over the warm waters and underneath kind of a more favorable environment for development. Now, it's not incredibly favorable because there's only still a 30% chance of development, but a little bit better than where it is right now. It'll have the warmer waters too, so this bears watching. But here in the South Mississippi, not overly concerned. Now, everybody along the Gulf Coast always has to watch anything as it comes into the Gulf of Mexico, but we're not at a higher threat level than just the basic, hey, there's something coming into the Gulf, let's keep some eyeballs on it. Now, back out here, this next one it becomes equally as interesting for a different reason, a 20% chance of development through the next 2 to 5 days. With this one, we've got kind of two options here. We've got one model which takes it, kind of meanders it into the Caribbean, and then the options kind of fork. We've got one that takes it kind of into Latin America, and another one that kind of curlicues it back off to the north. Now, there's only one or two that do this. There are 2 or 3 that do this. But there are more that kind of drift it off to the north and have it just basically get swallowed up by a bunch of dry air out here. So there's a very slim window of opportunity. I think once you get past about 4 days, really the threat for development on this thing is really going to fall off, at least based on the latest available data. The bad news about the tropics is when things aren't formed yet, it's very difficult to get a good, accurate feel for what exactly is going to happen. But let's set some things into motion. And on our European model here, your 700 millibar moisture, 850 vorticity. There's your vorticity that you're looking for in the lower levels. You're looking for the bullseyes, the yellows, the oranges, the reds. And there's that first wave getting into the Gulf of Mexico. Here we are Wednesday at 11 p.m. I'm not trying to cross that out, I'm trying to underline it. Wednesday at 11 p.m. And so we're going to have to wait about 24 hours before this thing decides it wants to do anything. Then as we head through Thursday and Friday, you can see how it kind of makes a beeline from one side of the Gulf to the other, right toward Texas, with no crazy amounts of development here. We didn't have any deep oranges or reds or big wide colorings in there. The next one back and behind it is very disorganized. That's probably a nice way of putting it. And it's going to get sandwiched in between this little batch of dry air here and another batch of dry air that's coming off the African coast. You can see what happens we head through Saturday and Sunday. It just gets eaten. We'll have to see if this is what actually shakes out. There may be a little sliver in here where it tries to survive in between the two masses of dry air. But as you can see, as we go through time, I mean, look how expansive this dry air becomes. I mean, we're into the Gulf, we're into the Caribbean, we're out over the open Atlantic. I mean, there's just so much dry air out here. It seems at this point like it's going to be difficult for anything out there to try and develop. And then that dry air, all it does is just extend itself even further back off to the west. And then we have to watch maybe this next wave come off. Here's the interesting thing as we head through the next couple of days. We may have a kind of a Kelvin wave try and sneak. Yep, did I lose my pen? I did lose my pen. We may have a Kelvin wave that tries to sneak across the area. regionally speaking, the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, and then into the Atlantic. If that is to happen, that would increase the chances for any one individual storm to develop. It doesn't mean anything's imminent, but it is something worth noting, because as we do head through kind of the end of July and into August, outside of this dry air, sure, that's going to be out here, we are looking at an increased activity coming off of the coast of Africa, which means there's going to be that much of a better chance that any one storm does try and develop. So there's a look at your tropical update for July 20th of 2020. Again, brought to you by the folks at Pine Belt Gutters and Remodeling.